The third and fourth episode of Velma has recently been released, and it's safe to say that following on from last week's episode 1 and 2, it was now desperately relying on two good episodes for it to be able to build upon the weak foundations that were shown to us last week. And personally, while I feel it had the opportunity to build, what I spoke about in my video last week was just as present in this week's episodes too. So let's break down and explain the two new episodes and discuss why they've made the show worse. So let's get into it. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. In the first two episodes of the show, we saw that the overarching narrative was laid down, which contained two main plots that were going to be focused on throughout the entirety of the season. One was the killer that was in the town that was taking the brains from the girls at the school, and the other was about the disappearance of Velma's mother. Two cases that would definitely be interesting if there was time focused on them. The final part of episode 2 saw Velma and Daphne also share a kiss, which has now opened up the storyline of the both of them being attracted to each other, but not doing anything about it. So we've had two main stories focused on a case, and then another that's centered around the love interest side of things. Let's start with episode 3. I feel as though, considering that Velma is being pitched as a detective mystery comedy series, we didn't actually see that much detective work being done in this episode at all. It mainly centered around Velma and her interest in Daphne and vice versa. It felt like a filler episode because the only development that we had to the overarching plot came in the final 5 seconds of the episode, when Norville found a card for an insane asylum in his father's cardigan pocket, where his father then went on to speak about his mother and how she was there. Most of the episode was focused around Daphne and Velma battling with each other over how their friendship finished, and how things changed once Velma's mother went missing. But it was all a little bit pointless, as they ultimately agreed to bury the hatchet and move forward as just friends. Even though there were feelings of wanting a little bit more still buried within both of them. That's following on from the kiss in episode 2. This episode was relatively similar to the first two episodes, where they had the humour that felt a little dated in what it was trying to convey, leaning in on stereotypes, mean girl behaviour, and the stupidity with some of the characters. One thing that the first two episodes had going for it was the art style when Velma had her hallucinations, and that was something that wasn't as prominent of a feature in these two episodes when compared to the first two. I actually think, in terms of this show and this show only, not comparing to Shaggy, I don't think Norville is that bad of a character, and when he was going off with the cardigan and interviewing Fred along with the other prisoners, it didn't seem that bad. The running joke of the cardigan was stupid, there's no denying that, but it was harmless and I didn't actually mind it that much. I just found this episode to lack any real substance, development to the plot, good visual animation, or the humour that would make the show fall under the genre of comedy. So surely, based on that, episode 4 would be better, right? Well, not really. Just like the third episode of the show, this one didn't develop either of the two stories that were introduced to us at the start of the show. It touched on them in having a subsection focused on making the women be less beautiful in order to not be killed, as the killer was only targeting what could only be described as hot girls. However, there was a deeper message embedded within it, in not needing to change for anybody and being able to be comfortable in your own skin, meaning that you shouldn't be judged by others, which I did agree with, but it felt a little alien to the narrative, especially considering the situation with a killer being on the loose. But anyway, instead of seeing an advancement on the case which was focused on the killer or more discoveries about Velma's missing mother, it instead introduced a new storyline to us. And this was about Daphne wanting to find her biological mother. Daphne had always felt like she had a dangerous side within her, which was the polar opposite to her adopted mother's. And even though she was raised to avoid danger, it was something that would always come out. With a rock flying through her window when Norville was there, we saw them head towards the crystal mines, where Daphne thought that her mother would be there, but it seemed as though it was actually the serial killer that was in the area, judging by the way that the person inside of the caves responded. We know that Norville's mother could have something to do with what's going on, or the case which is centered around Velma's missing mother. This is due to the look that she gave Velma when she left, and also when Daphne beat her in the battle at school. As well as that, the insane asylum card could also point to some involvement, so I imagine we'll see the connection as the episodes go on. And then now, on the other hand, we've got Daphne's mother as well, which could now be involved in what's occurring, as it seemed as though Daphne's hunt for her is going to be something that continues on for the remainder of the season. We're already almost halfway through the first season, and it doesn't feel like much has actually happened. Just like the first two episodes of the show, episode 3 and 4 lacked any real identifying factor other than the fact that it has the IP. None of the characters really resemble their original form in terms of their personalities and the way that they've been portrayed and delivered. For example, with Fred, they've just taken one key thing about the original character, his looks, and made his whole personality center around that, when in reality, he wasn't a dumb guy. He was actually intelligent, built traps that would often catch the villains whilst not relying on others to do the most basic of things. I also saw something stating that this was being considered a prequel, which I just don't think would even make any sense, because his personality is far different to what we eventually go on to see in every other iteration of the character. The style of comedy that was continued on from the first two episodes ran throughout this week's installment too, which is the already overdone, exhausted humor focused on being intimate with somebody, being put in awkward situations, or pushing things too far on screen. We've seen it done in Big Mouth, South Park, Family Guy, Paradise PD, Brickleberry, and many other shows out there, and they got away with doing it successfully. But the thing is, we don't even need to rely on shows like that to get that style of humor anymore. In terms of the characters, I can't say that any of them have grown on me anymore. Norville feels like the only bearable character out of them all, because he's so drastically different to Shaggy. His personality is nothing like him, nor have they taken any distinguishing factors of the previous character. It does look as though he's going to be involved in a story that sees him lose his interest in Velma, as Gigi's now comfortable in being herself, following on from what Velma said in episode 4. So I think they'll most likely be together, or we'll see them get together, so it may mean that we see Norville in a different light. The lack of Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine still feels present within the show. In fact, the whole mystery side of it. I don't feel as though I'm sitting here guessing who's behind the mask or inside the cave or where Velma's mother is, because I don't have high hopes of there being a twist. It seems as though Norville's mother, Velma's mother, or Daphne's mother is going to be involved, and if that's truly the case, then it will be extremely underwhelming. I just hope it's a bit smarter than that, but we'll see. With a Season 2 reportedly already being worked on, maybe we'll have to wait for Season 1 to be out of the way before getting a slightly better Season 2. Time will tell if that's actually going to happen, but with the ratings it's got at the moment, I'll be surprised if it does actually manage to get the green light. So, there you have it, why Velma episode 3 and 4 made the show worse. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of the new episodes? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.